Hello, Vlad with a new story from my channel, Amazing Stories. It had been raining since early morning. It drizzled tediously, then pounded loudly against the window and roof. Marina rushed out of the small hut of the old farmstead, cursing herself. What a muffler, why didn't I bring water? Now I have to run in the rain. She ran to the raging river, gathered 2 full winds, and, struggling through the wet grass, hobbled into the house. She went in, took off her damp scarf and jacket, and hung them on the line closer to the stove. Well, now we'll warm up some water, cook some porridge, and make some tea, she said. The ginger cat, her only companion, looked at her disapprovingly. Cats don't need tea or porridge. But she wouldn't mind some fish. Marina hadn't set up the power grid today, though. She didn't want to get wet in the rain. It was already dark outside. She turned on the lamp and shook her head. In a couple of weeks, she'd have to go out to people to replenish her food supplies and buy more batteries. But for now, she could enjoy the comfort. It was damp outside, and at home, the firewood was crackling, the cat was purring, and fragrant tea was brewing. The rain began to pound, seeming even louder. First on the glass, and then on the door. What a wonderful rain or hail. Today, it'll probably ruin the last of the cucumbers, Marina shook her head. Let us in, a voice suddenly said. Oh, my God, Marina shuddered. She knew perfectly well that the nearest village was a day's walk along forest paths, so there couldn't be anyone here at the farmstead in the middle of the night. Let us in, please, another voice begged. Marina's heart sank. The voices were clearly children's, and the idea that small children could be walking around in the taiga at night simply didn't fit into her head. She undid the latch, opened the door, and was stunned. Right in front of her stood 2 little copies of herself, twins, a girl and a boy. Both were just like herself. Light red hair, green eyes, round cheeks. Where are you from? Was all the woman could say. We're lost, the boy replied, shielding his sister from any possible danger. Come in quickly, we're soaking wet. Marina, as if waking up, bustled about. Just change and we'll eat. Marina began to pull off their wet clothes, dried the children, and pulled sweatshirts on each of them. Not at all fashionable, but dry, clean, and warm. What's your name? Marina asked, drying the girl's hair with a towel. I'm Tanya, and this is Igor. We're twins, we'll be 7 soon, the little girl began to explain. And how did you feel here? Tutiana and I arrived at the base yesterday, decided to play hide and seek for a bit, and I think we got lost, the girl began to explain. Yeah, we had to sleep in the woods under a bush, Igor continued. And in the morning it started raining, so we went looking for Aunt Anya, Tanya finished. Marina looked closely at the children and asked a question. Where is your mother? We only have Dad and Aunt Anya, Igor answered sternly. I want to sleep, Tanya suddenly declared. Are you hungry? No, we ate our fill of raspberries. Quote, Marina looked around the hut. The hut was small, but there was enough space for 2 adults at most. A bed, a table, and a wide bench. That was all the furniture. While she was spreading a clean sheet on the bed, the children fell asleep right at the table. Marina herself settled down on the bench, tossing and turning all night, stiffly, unusually, and the children slept restlessly. Tanya quietly whimpered in her sleep, Igor muttered something. In the morning, Marina cooked porridge and quietly woke the children. Mom, the boy muttered in his sleep, have you come? Marina shuddered at these words. No one had ever called her mom. Once upon a time, a long time ago, the dream of starting a family collapsed. And along with it, her soul shattered into a million little pieces. Marina stroked the boy's golden hair. Tanya and Yegor smiled, half asleep, and wrinkled their little noses. Marina smiled too, inhaling the warm scent of the children, so familiar and yet so unfamiliar. Yegor was the first to fully wake up. He sat up in bed, looked around, and frowned. "Good morning," Marina smiled. "You're at my farmstead. You came here yesterday." Quote. "Hello," the boy replied sullenly. "Why are you so angry?" Marina laughed. "We'll get it from Auntie. He's probably looking for us." "No, he's probably definitely looking." "And where's Dad?" "Dad's on the clouds." Quote. Tanya answered quietly, waking up. Marina didn't know what to say. She vividly imagined a woman she didn't know running through the taiga looking for children and literally felt her despair. Then a wave of memories washed over her. Once upon a time, in the life before her past, when Marina was 20 years old, she met Vanya. Although the guy was from a wealthy family, he didn't boast about it at all. They met Marina simply when she and her friend went to a newfangled movie theater for the premiere. And while they were buying popcorn, Ivan and his brother Gleb approached them. "Girls, can I meet you?" It was all very banal. "Meet," Marina shrugged indifferently. "I'm Ivan, this is Gleb. I'm Marina, this is Vika. Well, in honor of our acquaintance, I'm ready to pay your popcorn drinks," Vanya declared. "Thank you. We can do it ourselves," Marina cut off this attempt. "Oh, come on, it's just corn. Can I?" "Well, try it then. Another ice cream." "Great," Ivan smiled. At the cinema, all four were sitting next to each other. Marina then caught herself thinking that Ivan and Gleb didn't really look alike for brothers. Gleb had dark hair and brown eyes, Ivan had golden red hair, like herself, and also blue eyes. She thought she was examining the boys discreetly, but Gleb was the first to speak. "Don't doubt it, we're just twin brothers. I take after my dad, and Vanya takes after his mom." Quote. "I don't doubt it, it's simple." Marina began, but didn't finish the sentence. "Yes, we're used to it." Gleb looked closely at Marina, and from that look, everything inside her seemed to turn over. The girl realized she was lost. The romance was developing rapidly. Every day, Gleb would come either with a bouquet or with candy. Vanya would also come to her in Vika's dorm, but instead of candy, he would bring a good piece of meat, or vegetables and fruit, or replenish their cereal supplies. "Marin, that's not fair." 2. Suitors started croaking at once. Vika laughed. "Vikas, but you have Stas. Why do you need these two islords?" "Hey, I can't decide who I like more. Take Ivan, you definitely won't be lost with him." Quote. "But Gleb is so handsome, he courts me so much," Marina answered thoughtfully. "But Ivan cares. Gleb is only good as a party person, but he's somehow frivolous. Now Vanya, yes, he's a great match. He doesn't carry the brooms, but he finally hung them on the shelf and brings groceries." Quote. "Oh, can you afford to buy meat so often with your stipend?" "No, of course not," Marina replied. "And Vanya does care. He's thrifty, homely. I would have chosen him." Quote. But Marina wanted a celebration, gifts, not some boring routine. In the end, she gave Ivan the brush off. "And you had a good influence on your brother." Dad tried to persuade him to head a company branch far away in another region. Vanya kept refusing, packed his things and left. Quote. "So it's because of me," Marina was horrified. "No, why because of you? Thanks to you. Now father can rest assured that at least one of his sons has achieved something." Gleb smiled. "And what does that mean?" "That you and I can calmly get married and not worry about anything." "Are you proposing to me?" "And why not? We're so good together." "We had to postpone the wedding." Literally a week later, Marina woke up with a wave of nausea washing over her, hunching her over the sink. Sometimes it got so bad that her vision started to blur. Quote, Vika, I think I shouldn't have gone to the sushi bar with Gleb yesterday. Marina was so pale that her friend was about to call an ambulance. Do you think she got food poisoning? Yeah, I'm 100% sure. Remember, you and I once ordered some. Marina started to recall, but the wave washed over her again. Listen, my friend, don't go to university today. Better yet, take some activated charcoal. See if there's anything left in the first aid kit. If it gets worse, call, Vika ordered. Marina obediently recalled all the folk remedies for food poisoning, and by evening she felt better. But in the morning it all came back. Quote, okay, so yesterday was sushi, so what today? Vika frowned. I don't understand it myself. Listen, are you by any chance pregnant? Vika chuckled. No, I think I was checking the calendar. Everything's fine. Hey, I'll go get a test anyway. Quote. An hour later, the girls were sitting around the table, looking at the test. One line was bright, the other was faint, barely noticeable. That could be considered a mistake. Quote, we need to get another one and make an appointment with the doctor, Vika suggested. Why the doctor? Marina frowned. Well, if that's it, the doctor will advise how to relieve morning sickness. The second test showed more or less the same. I should probably tell Gleb. Marina wasn't sure yet whether to be happy or sad about the fact that she would soon be a mother. Quote, sure, tell me, Vika agreed. I thought you were planning to get married. Well, right. Gleb gave me a ring. Marina held out her hand and admired the gift. Quote, well, then, call him. No, we're going to a cafe this evening, I'll tell you then. Marina could hardly wait for their date. Gleb had already mentioned more than once how he dreamed of children, and how their father would be especially happy to have heirs. So Marina wanted to break the news of her condition in an unusual way. She wasn't even bothered by the very, very short time frame. Marin, you're a real goddess today. Gleb looked at her with admiration. What have you done to yourself? You're simply glowing. I'll tell you something now. You'll glow too, the girl smiled mysteriously. And so what? Am I really going to become a father? Gleb asked, half jokingly. Quote, guessed it, Marina was amazed. Really? The guy answered, shocked. Now he too was practically beaming with joy. Quote, well, yes, Marina answered softly. And how long? I don't know, until I went to the clinic. Okay then. You'll be seen by the best doctor. I'll make arrangements tomorrow and we'll go together. Okay, Marina agreed. Get married, then let's not talk about it for now. Why the extra stress? And I'll have to put my studies on hold, otherwise, God forbid, something bad happens during exams or my thesis defense due to stress. Gleb, I'm sure everything will be fine. Marina, I need a calm, beautiful wife and healthy children. Quote. And she agreed. After all, a woman is created to take care of her family, children, and brighten the world with her smile, not to toil like a workhorse. At the very first screening, it turned out that her rapid weight gain and nausea were due to the fact that Marina was expecting twins. Upon learning this, Gleb practically jumped for joy. Double happiness? No, triple, he shouted like a boy. And why triple? Marina was puzzled. Because you, my happiness, are the first, and then 2 more children. The doctors, observing Marina, constantly noted her responsible attitude toward future motherhood. She, however, felt worse and worse with each passing day. It wasn't the weight of the pregnancy that was the issue, but her attitude toward Gleb. He was still sweet, joked with her, talked with her belly, brought her bouquets, candy, and cute trinkets. But she constantly felt that her fiancé was somewhere far away, not with her. When she was 5 months pregnant, Gleb didn't come home for the first time. In the morning, he said he'd been with his father. But then these overnight stays away from home became more and more frequent. And almost every time, Gleb brought with him the almost elusive scent of someone else's perfume. The babies were born ahead of schedule. Marina tried calling Gleb, but he didn't answer. She felt despair. Such an important day, and he wasn't with her, even though he'd promised. While they were taking Marina to Rutzel, she cried from pain, from fear that something might go wrong. Marina felt alone, incredibly helpless, and very vulnerable. "What's wrong?" The nurse gently stroked her hand. "Everyone goes through this. I'm scared. It's normal. You don't have children yet, and imagine what it's like for your little ones. And they have such a big job ahead of them, giving birth. But right now, they don't feel your joy at the prospect of meeting you again, but your fear. They're scared of it too. Maybe we can help them, huh?" And these words calmed Marina down as if by magic. Finally, her babies were born, 5 minutes apart. The newborns were given to Marina right away, and she wondered why they were so small. "Everyone's like that with twins," the midwife laughed. "Will the redness go away later?" "Of course. Oh, can I hold them for another minute?" "Hold on," the midwife nodded. Marina inhaled the scent of her babies and couldn't believe the miracle. Just now she had a huge belly. And now she had 2 little bundles in her arms. They were creaking and snoring, small and so dear. "Well, now you need to rest. You can lie here for about 3 hours, and then I'll come for you and go to the room with you. If you want, I'll help you wash up," the nurse offered. "Thank you," Marina thanked. "And when will they bring the babies?" "Don't rush," the nurse laughed. "You'll wash up, come to your senses, and they'll bring them. You won't be separated again. But think about it, maybe it's worth leaving them in the children's ward overnight, and you'll rest, and the babies will be under reliable supervision." "No, I really want to see them as soon as possible. They're healthy." "Yes, completely healthy." But they didn't bring the babies in 2 hours, or in 5, or in the morning. Marina had already started. She was starting to worry when Gleb walked into the room. "Marish, don't worry," he began from the doorway. "What's wrong with the kids?" The young mother immediately understood. "They're in intensive care. Something's gone wrong, but they have to be saved." Gleb tried to calm her down. There was a knock on the door. 3 doctors and a nurse stood there. Marina only had time to say, "Doctor." The sky and earth swapped places, her legs refused to obey her, and then she fell into a saving oblivion. She came to late at night. She heard a wolf howling somewhere outside the window, a drawn-out, heartbreaking howl that ripped out her soul. Then, somewhere nearby, someone said, "Why is she howling non-stop? She's completely exhausted." "And if you were in her place, it's still unclear how you would react." "Oh, look, she's opening her eyes." Marina opened her eyelids with difficulty and suddenly realized, it wasn't a wolf howling outside the window. Where in the city could he be? And her soul felt so empty, as if the entire cosmos with its myriad stars and empty galaxies had collapsed on her. 3 days later, Gleb arrived and took her home. The nursery Marina had been preparing for the babies contained 2 cribs, a changing table, and colorful balloons. But what was all this for now? Now that 2 newborn universes had vanished. Marina sat on the floor next to one of the cribs, picked up a funny toy dog, hugged it, and cried. "I'm alone, you see, alone. My children are gone, my little ones are gone, no plan." Gleb came into the room, sat down next to her, and gently hugged her shoulders. "Calm down, we'll definitely get through this." Marina, exhausted from the tears of her experience, fell asleep on his shoulder. Gleb was gone all the next night, and when he came home around noon, Marina caught the scent of alcohol mixed with the tart scent of perfume, the same one that had been barely perceptible before. Gleb looked at her with disdain and pity. "Why are you sitting there? You still don't get it. You're no longer welcome here. Pack your things and go wherever you want." "What? What? I don't need a woman who couldn't keep my children. Is it your fault that this happened? I have someone else now. We filed an application with the Legislative Assembly today." Marina was very weak and simply physically couldn't do anything. Then Gleb pulled out a large plaid bag from somewhere and began throwing her things in it. Then he grabbed her hand and dragged her into the entrance. The elevator, surprisingly, came right away. Marina didn't even understand how the horses ended up downstairs or how Gleb put her in a taxi. She stared straight ahead and saw only two wrinkled faces. She heard their groaning, their snorting, she smelled it. "Everything's fine. Can you even hear me? Have you been drinking or something?" The taxi driver's shout shattered the silence of her world. "What am I saying? If I drop you off here, it's fine, yes." The car stopped. Marina got out and walked wherever her eyes would fly. "Hey, stop," he said. The driver caught up with her and thrust a huge bag into her hand. She took out her phone and dialed her friend's number. "Hi. Gleb kicked me out. Where are you?" "I don't know." "Well, look around. Do you see any houses?" "Yes. Shopping center. It says Vostok. Stay put. I'll be there in half an hour." Marina stood there. And then she found herself already sitting in her best friend's kitchen. And for the next 2 months, time fell out of her life in chunks. Then for several more months she learned to live again. And every time she saw children or happy couples, her heart sank and sank with pain. "Vic, I can't do this anymore. I'm about to go crazy. Marish, I've got an idea. You and I are going on a hike next weekend. Do you agree?" "Fine." So, Marina found herself in the taiga for the first time. The untouched nature had healed her, given her incredible strength, but returning to the city had again scratched a wound in her soul. "Vika, do you remember how the guide told us about the small houses in the taiga?" "Yeah, I remember. Can you give me his phone number?" Marina called the guide, and he agreed to take her to one of the small houses. A day's journey, and all around was silence. The house was small, well built. They say hunters rarely came there. The quiet place became Marina's salvation. Vika made her take a satellite phone with her and contacted her once a week. The first winter was the hardest. No outside sounds, just the taiga and Marina herself. Sometimes hunters would wander by, bringing food. Sometimes Marina would go to the nearest village. She rented out the apartment Gleb had given her as ransom money. Marina quickly got used to the silence and learned how to set traps. She had found plenty to talk to with Vika. So now she grabbed the phone. "Vic, the kids have come to see me," Marina blurted out first. "The kids are wonderful. They've been searching for them all over the Tagus for 3 days now. I'll notify the rescuers now." "Okay, we'll go meet them." Quote. Marina gathered the kids and led them to the village. 3 hours later, they heard the rescuers' cries. "Hey, where are you?" "We're here," Marina screamed. For a moment, she thought she absolutely mustn't give the kids away again. Again? Why again? They weren't her children. They had their own families. But the scent of children's heads and those little hands were so heartbreakingly familiar that she wanted to cry. Marina and the rescuers arrived at the large clearing at the same time. Tanya, Yegor. One of the men shouted and rushed towards them. Uncle Vanya. The children rejoiced. Well, that's it, Marina muttered sadly under her breath, lowering her head, trying to hide her tears. Is that you? The man said in surprise, coming close. Marina looked up and saw Vanya, standing in his arms. The same Vanya who had once been in love with her. Ivan, Marin, where have you been? And Tanya, Yegor, your nephews. These are Gleb's children. Gleb's? Marina asked thoughtfully. Yes, after that tragedy, he married Anya. It turns out they had been dating for a long time. So long that she was already going to the Legislative Assembly with a huge belly, and almost immediately Tanya and Yegor appeared. It's funny. I had royal twins, and well, life is a strange thing. Uncle Vanya, I don't want Kanya, Tanya finished. I don't want either, Yegor answered harshly. And why do they call Mom Tanya? I don't know, Gleb decided so. And how did he himself die a month ago? Listen, let's go to the village, and let's sit and chat, and then I'll bring you back. Oh, no, I have a cat there. Where is that? Well, at the farmstead. I live there. Tanya returned home and cried for 2 days. She felt like she had lost her babies again. And a month later, on the same rainy day, there was a knock on the door of the farmstead again. The hunters had arrived a bit early. She hadn't expected them until a week later. Quote, "Which, is that you?" Marina shouted and threw back the latch. Vanya and the children were standing on the threshold. Quote, "Marin, I don't know how to explain everything to you," Ivan hesitated. "You're our mother," Tanya suddenly said. "Me?" Marina's eyes grew cloudy again. Yes, Ivan nodded. Gleb had been in love with Anya since school, but she had stupidly had an abortion and could no longer have children. But Ivan and Gleb's father insisted on heirs. And that's when Gleb came up with a plan. Let another woman bear the child. And that other woman turned out to be Marina. Well, and then the wad of cash in Gleb's hands did the trick. The children became Anya's on paper, but she couldn't, or maybe didn't want to, accept the twins. The babies were also a burden to Gleb, so the only person who genuinely cared about them was Ivan. Every visit was a holiday for the twins. After Gleb's death, Ivan offered Anya the children, but she was a self-serving woman. She knew perfectly well that the children were claimants to the inheritance. So she decided to get rid of them. And the taiga is the perfect place. Who knew that 2 desperate children would accidentally stumble upon the farmstead where their mother lived? Marin, if you want, we can conduct an examination. We can come to my place. We'll go through all the court proceedings together, and if you want, we'll return the children to you according to the law. Vanya, how can I raise them alone in the forest? Marin, aren't you listening? They're my nephews. I won't leave them either way. And you too. I lost you once. I don't want to lose you again. Lost? Yes. When did you choose Gleb? It hurt, but I didn't want to interfere with your happiness. I still live alone. And I hope that you, Tanya, and Igor will agree to move in with me. Well, let's give it a try. Marina and Ivan really did go through all the court cases together. The recognition of maternity, the proceedings with the hospital, the court case brought by the doctors. It all went through. Now Ivan and Marina were expecting another baby. And Tanya and Igor argued over who would come up with the best name. Although none of that really mattered. The main thing is that they were happy. If you like the story, Please support me with the thumbs up button. One simple action, but it means a lot to me. All the best, M.